Colorado Springs is a hot spot for nature lovers, outdoor fitness freaks, adventure seekers, Olympians, and military members and contractors. Known as the city of millionaires from the gold discovery in Cripple Creek, at one point we had more millionaires per capita than any other place in the country. But not everyone who comes to Colorado Springs loves it, and not everyone who lives here enjoys every moment of it. If you're curious about making Colorado Springs your home, then this is the right video for you. There are some things that you need to know so that you're not blindsided when you get here. Over the next 10 years, our city is going to change so much. Today, I'm going to share with you some inside information and answer some frequently asked questions that I get all of the time. The most recent data on the cost of living in Colorado Springs is slightly higher than the national average. To rent an apartment, you'll look to spend around $1,300 per month, and the average home price for something nice and in a decent area, you're going to be looking at high 400s to 500s for a well-kept home or a new construction home. Then if you're renting, you'll find yourself a single family home for around $2,500 on the average, and closer to $3,000 a month for something really nice, which is higher than the national average but lower than other Colorado cities like Denver and Boulder. Obviously, if you're shopping at the commissary, then you're going to save a ton of money when it comes to groceries. You'll probably save an average of $50 to $100 every grocery visit. So that's kind of cool if you are in the military and you have access. Otherwise, it can get pretty pricey. Groceries are slightly higher than the national average. Eggs are pricey everywhere, but I spent about $7 for 2 dozen cage-free eggs, which is up from $4 just a few months ago. A gallon of milk was $3.88, and a loaf of bread was just under $3. All right, so here's what I spend on gas. Now, usually I get my gas from Sam's Club, and obviously the pricing can fluctuate depending on how often you drive. And it's actually been going back up, where we were hovering around $2.65 before the election. And then the election happened and, it started to go back up again. Last night I was driving and I saw that the gas was over $3.13. Now that is crazy fast, crazy high, especially coming from $2.95 just last week. I have been recently driving a Honda Accord. Hondas, they just do so well in the snow. I used to have the Odyssey and the Pilot, and I just really appreciate how they drive in the snow. They're good on gas. They're really great cars. And the Honda here in town, both of them, well, one of them got bought out by Corwin, maybe both, I don't know. They've had really great service. So anyway, I just wanted to get something that was better on gas because I'm always driving around showing homes all over town. So my Honda was getting around $31 to $35. I'm filling up maybe 2 times a month, which my last car was a 7-seater, and that thing was like $70 every time I filled up, maybe twice a month or more. So it's huge to save that much money on gas, but I do miss having my SUV. So I do plan to go back. I just don't know which one I'm going to get yet. Side note, I do have 5 kids, and so I was trying to find a car that would fit all of us so we could all go and do stuff together at the same time. But now that they're getting older, one of them has her own car, drives herself around, and everyone's all over the place now. So we don't drive together as often as we did before. But in case you're wondering, that's why. But obviously, depending on how much gas your car needs, it's going to fluctuate, but it's not terrible. We're sitting just over $3 a gallon right now in early 2025. If you're in Colorado Springs proper, you'll get your gas and water from the Colorado Springs utilities. Our utilities are lower than the national average, but if you have a family, you might spend more than the national average. You can expect to pay somewhere in the range of $250 to $400 a month for total utilities, gas, electric, water, and trash. And that's going to fluctuate depending on whether you're using more or less heat, air conditioning, and if you water your grass or not. We spend anywhere around $300 to $350 per month or so for our family. But the nice thing is that you can have a fixed payment that is adjusted over the year. So you just pay the same amount each month regardless of usage with the utility company here. If you're curious on exactly what you're going to spend living in Colorado Springs, there's actually a cost of living comparison calculator that I will link below. The next thing you need to know is this. Everyone thinks that we're a blue state, but that's not entirely true. But before I explain this, let's get some important details out of the way to help you form an opinion about this. One popular way that people here register to vote is through the DMV. When people get or renew a driver's license or update their address, they're automatically registered to vote unless they're already signed up. This system is called the automatic voter registration, and it's required by federal and state law. It's also why so many voters end up being unaffiliated in Colorado, meaning they don't belong to either political party. Unaffiliated is the default, and people must choose to affiliate with a party if they choose to. The number of affiliated voters is growing because they're just fed up with both parties, according to this recent article. Independents have hit a record high with 49.6% of registered voters identifying as unaffiliated in Colorado. Across all age groups, 58% of unaffiliated voters think the Democratic Party is out of touch compared to 70% who feel the same about Republicans. 55% of Colorado's unaffiliated voters backed Kamala Harris in the 24 election, according to CPI survey. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. A lot of people say that liberals have come and ruined Colorado Springs, but things aren't always what they seem. Colorado Springs has implemented a red light safety camera program to help with road safety and to reduce the number of people running red lights and causing accidents. These red lights are around major intersections, with several on North Academy alone. The violation is $75, and you won't lose points on the driver's license, but they're marked, and your GPS will usually give you a warning when you're approaching one of these, so you're not going to miss it. These lights not only free up law enforcement, but also help create safer driving habits. For me, I always get nervous because I'm worried that the car behind me is going to smack into me, or I'm not going to make it because the car in front of me is driving too slow. So if I feel like it's going to turn yellow soon, I would just rather wait through the red light than stress myself through the intersection. That's just me, but just a quick tip. Maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. According to the Gazette, which is a local paper in Colorado Springs, traffic deaths decreased in 2024, but 49 lives were still lost here, which is horrific. 17 of them were motorcyclists, 17 were driving a car, and 14 were just walking. So you do have to be very careful. People love to speed out here while they're texting, which is why we have a new law where you can't hold your phone and use it while you're driving. I also recommend that you get a car wash membership. It snows here, and then the snow melts and it gets all over your car. And what's worse about this is if you drive over a place where someone had salt, that salt will eat away at your car's finish, and so it could ruin your paint job. So you really want to get your car washed after the snow as much as you can. If you're looking for a touchless car wash, I honestly could not find one here. You're probably going to have to find someone who is a mobile detailer that can come out and do that. It's probably going to cost you about $25 or so. If you get a membership, it might be cheaper. I don't know. There is a hot wash near Fort Carson, but I wasn't sure on the effects on how that would handle your paint coat, so I've never been there before. I get a lot of questions about what car you should drive. You don't need anything special, but honestly, if you don't know how to drive in the snow, you really just need to stay home. If you have to go out, any front wheel drive car would be okay. But if I were you, I would change my car to a front wheel drive if I don't already have one, if that's possible. You only have to get stuck once to learn the hard way, and it's just not worth it. Unless you're coming from similar weather, but we are getting a lot of people from California, Florida, and Texas. With all of the hills and ice, it's really dangerous and almost impossible with rear wheel drive to not get stuck on ice or in the snow. Or if you have a low vehicle, you could get stuck on top of snow. And I'm just suggesting this. I feel safer in all-wheel drive. So I'm really bummed because I initially started this video in Palmer Park. I wanted to show you how beautiful it was, but I can still throw up some B-roll. But this is like one of my favorite places to just come chill and be by myself and not have like a ton of people around. All I could hear were birds and little rabbits darting through the grass. There aren't any snakes over there, so you don't have to worry about that. You do have to worry about it though at Garden of the Gods. They do have rattlesnakes in the summertime, so you do have to be careful. It's just so peaceful, and I just love being out in the fresh air. And so I'm kind of sad that that video didn't turn out. The audio from the wind was just bad. So the other day I was driving because it was a beautiful sunny day. It was like in the 60s, which is very rare. And you do have to be careful when the weather is really nice like that. You can't get too excited because I feel like the warmer the weather is, the bigger the storm. And conveniently enough, when I recorded this video last time, it was very, very warm, got into the mid 60s, and now we've got snow for days and it's freezing cold outside. But when these warm days do come, I just appreciate them. And I love that we can have 60-degree weather right in the middle of February. But like I said, the other day I was driving and the weather was so nice that I rolled down the windows. And I used to drive with my windows down all the time. It was very rare that I used my air conditioning. And it's just something that I realized that I missed, because now when I do roll down the windows, it's very fumey. There's a lot of traffic noise. There's dirt and dust. And so it's not as enjoyable, but that was just, just a random thought that I don't do that anymore. So one last thing I'll mention about the traffic in Colorado Springs is that for some reason, the residents here, at least in Colorado Springs, I don't know if it's like that all over Colorado, but they don't like to zipper merge, which is so crazy to me because these people will get so mad at you if you try and zipper merge. They'll think that you're cutting in line. They want you to wait in the back, and they'll just start honking at you, cussing at you, flipping you off, and not letting you in. Like they would rather cause an accident than let you in when the lane is closing. So I always found that to be very weird, because zipper merging is like the safest thing to do and it's better flow for traffic. And I just don't understand what it is. It's something to keep in mind. To be careful when you're driving. The zipper merge is not welcome here, at least not yet.
This is not how you zipper.
Now, it's taken me decades to really understand the Colorado Springs weather. It's so weird, but it is predictable. People say that it's not predictable, but there is a way that you can predict it. And sometimes if you are over 40 like me, you can feel it in your bones. I felt it. My body was sore right up until the snow. It's the weirdest thing. But usually right before it snows, there's a telltale sign when the weather gets really warm, like in the 60s. That means we're going to get some seriously drastically cold weather coming in. And every year it's some crazy weird name, like the storm is called an Arctic blast or a bomb cyclone. And so that's kind of funny that they have all these weird names for these crazy storms and they make them sound super scary. But usually it starts getting really cold around, our first snow is probably around Halloween, and then it stays kind of mild, 30s, 40s through Christmas. And then in January, that's when like the freezing cold starts, the below zero temperature starts. And I feel like January and February are the coldest months. Sometimes it'll snow in April, and then if you have trees already starting to bloom, then that snow will get really heavy and fall and break the branches, which is really unfortunate. I really hate when that happens. But you think you get used to the weather and it does something crazy, and we're in that banana belt. So I just guess the way the elevation is, it makes the weather weird. And sometimes with the mountains behind us, we don't see the weather coming in, or it comes in super quickly. And it's just the way that our city is. But I kind of like that we do have a mixture of different weather. I love that if I know that it's going to snow or it's cloudy, that it's going to clear up pretty quickly. And I know I complain about the weather all the time, but it's not that bad. At least that's what I'm saying today. It might be different as I'm getting colder and colder and the snow is just relentless. But one thing people do have to do is blow out their pipes. And obviously if you're used to the cold weather and you know about it, you're coming from Michigan or wherever, you can skip to the next section. But we get a lot of people that are coming from California, Texas, and Florida. And if you're coming from warmer weather, then you're going to want to know this stuff so that you don't have all these surprise expenses coming home to bursted pipes or a flooded house. It's no fun. I've been there, trust me. So cover your pipes. We bought this little thing. Well, my husband bought it, but it sits right on top of your pipes. I can't remember the name of it, but I will link it below. But it helps a lot with your pipes. But if you get weather that's below zero, then you might want to do a slow drip, open up cabinets to help the warm air get inside. All right, so this next section is going to be about skincare. So if you're a guy, maybe you don't care about skincare, but if you do, you can watch this, or you can send it to your spouse or whoever. But if you're a lady, you definitely want to stick around. I will link everything that I use in the description below if you want to get some for yourself, because it's tried and true, and I have very dry skin. I have to be careful what I put on my face. I'm also very sensitive, so fun times. If you're a guy, feel free to skip to the next chapter, but I went to Pensacola and it is extremely humid there. Obviously, if you've been there, you know that Florida is pretty humid, but Pensacola, like supremely extra humid. And I noticed that I didn't have to touch up my makeup the entire day. It stayed on the whole time. It looked great. I didn't have to reapply lotion on my skin. Obviously, it didn't get dry, and I loved my hair and skin out in Florida. Maybe not so much my hair, but for sure my skin. Here in the springs, I'm constantly having to put on face cream. I'm reapplying several times throughout the day. You know, I don't want to get wrinkles, even though I'm starting to get the wrinkles. It happens, but the dry weather just makes it so much worse. It's so bad for your skin. But I also use setting spray to set my makeup. It helps a little bit. And I usually have to reapply or touch up every 2 hours, which is a lot. Now, another tip I have for you is to fly into Colorado Springs Airport if you can. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but it is totally worth it because you don't have to deal with all the traffic, all the people coming in and out of DIA. It's such a huge airport where Colorado Springs is small and the lines are not as crazy. It's not as chaotic and hectic. It's easy to get to your gate. It literally takes like 5 minutes unless there's a line, but there's rarely a line when I go. And if there is a line, it goes pretty quickly. Now, years ago, I was flying out to see my dad in Puerto Rico. They initially delayed my flight and then they ended up canceling it, but they didn't do it until like 2 in the morning, but they delayed it like 6 times and then they finally canceled it, which is beyond frustrating because I could have totally went home and come back. And it's just such a huge inconvenience. Like if you're strapped for time or you have another flight to catch, it's just not fun. If that happens where your flight gets canceled or there's bad weather, it's just easier to do that from Colorado Springs if you live here. But then I ended up paying $150 to take an Uber all the way back to the Springs. And I almost didn't even want to go back. There were no restaurants open. It was in the middle of the night, so everything was closed and it was just freezing cold. And I just had my flip-flops on. And that's never happened to me before. And it was my very first time flying by myself. So I really do like the Colorado Springs Airport and I prefer it even if it's $200 more. I'd rather do that than have to go to DIA when it's possible. I know you can't always do that and it's not always feasible, but that's usually the case for me. Let's talk about the food scene in Colorado Springs. A lot of people say that our food is trash, that it's not very good, and I completely disagree. I've been to a lot of different places. Like, I was so excited to eat the food in San Antonio because everyone bragged about how it's the best Mexican food, and I tried 2 different restaurants, and they were both wholeheartedly disappointing. I mean, Florida has really good food. I've been to Mexico. Mexico has really good food. Puerto Rico has amazing food. Colorado Springs has good food, regardless of what other people might say. I know what good food tastes like. New York and California has really good food. Maybe we don't have the best Mexican food. I like to go to one of my favorite restaurants. There's a place off of Powers called Mamitas that I really like. So, I mean, you have to find the right spots to go to, but I think our food is better than a lot of other places. I love the restaurants with the grass-fed beef, like Skirted Heifer. Today, I'm going to actually check out Ranch Foods Direct. I ended up buying this 8-ounce steak, which was so delicious. It tasted fresh, and the steak was about $15, and then I bought some salt, and the salt was about $6, and then $2.99 for this sourdough baguette. Okay, so the final thing I'm going to talk about is the gym scene here. Not super excited about the gym scene out here. A lot of people love doing the outdoors thing, like everyone's hiking, running. So in the summertime, you're going to see that everywhere, but there's not really very many places that have like saunas and swimming pools and basketball courts. We used to go to 24-hour fitness. Well, we still do, but they're closing at the end of the month. And it's so unfortunate because it had everything that we wanted. There's places like Villa Sport, but they're pretty expensive. The YMCA is okay. It's good. They're pretty clean out here. But I do wish we had a little bit more gyms and gyms that also had saunas that were affordable. Crunch Fitness, I really liked. I used to go there, but they don't have the sauna, the basketball court, but they do have the hydro massage, which I love. But all of my kids like to play basketball and they're in sports. So we're trying to find something that we can all do together without having to spend a ridiculous amount of money every month. And I've tried so many different gyms, so just something to keep in mind. But as far as being outdoors running, there's not a place that you could go where you can't find a hiking trail and a nice one. They're pretty clean. People typically clean up after themselves for the most part, especially like in a park like Palmer Park. You don't see a lot of trash out here, which I love. Downtown, sometimes that's a different story. but people do come out and clean, so it's not terrible. I know a lot of people will have their comments about that, and I love to hear those comments. I love to hear you share your experiences as long as you're respectful. So that's it for this video. If you need help with real estate, please give me a call. I'm a licensed realtor. That's why I do all these videos, to help people relocate to the area. I am specifically a military relocation specialist. I work with a lot of military members that are using their VA loans to essentially retire here. So I have a 3-part process that helps you find your forever home here. I partner with an attorney so you get the best service, the best expertise and knowledge in Colorado Springs. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget to watch this one. It's important.